Part 2, let's do this. Hey, this is Struzyna with the Gunderman Group. Thank you so much for tuning in to the channel. If you're here, hopefully you've seen part 1 of this video. If not, I'm gonna link to it right up here. Go watch that first, it'll make a lot more sense. But this is part 2 to where have we been in the 2021 real estate market? What has been going on and what can we learn from it that will hopefully tell us where we're going in 2022? This is a pretty data heavy, a lot of graphs, a lot of slides, a lot of stuff from the California Association of Realtors. They do some great research. I try and pull something from it and give it to you. So we're gonna pick up where I left off. And again, if you haven't watched part 1, go watch it before you watch this video. But we're talking about prices. Prices pushed up. Why? Well, debt was cheap. Millennials who were renting and had really good jobs, had good income, were saving, had family help, whatever, entered the marketplace with a lot of gusto this year and really started to become homeowners for the very first time. On top of that, the desire to own a home, have a space to be during the pandemic, have a home office, temporary, long-term, whatever, really increase the value of home. And as you're gonna see later in this video, there's not a lot of new construction, right? There's not a lot of new properties being built. And nowhere is that more apparent than here in the Bay Area locally, where we are limited by geography. We've got water all around us, we've got hills, we've got undevelopable areas. It's really tough to build more density in areas that are already fairly dense, right? There are some legislation items, Senate Bill 9, which I did a couple of videos on, I'll link to those up here, that will help get a little bit more density into some of these traditionally single-family homes markets, but we will see what that does in the short and long term. But generally, there's limited amounts of land, right? And so the existing stock has increased almost 33% this year, which is nuts, especially when you compare that to only 21% or so in the state of California on average. So we did a lot better here, partially because of the jobs, partially because of the tech stocks and wealth and that sort of thing, and cheap debt and so forth and so on, right? And with that, everybody knows that the Bay Area has always been hot, but you can see across the board in California, the market has been moving fast. Days on market is at an all-time low, even though it's starting to tick up again. Mortgage applications have been at an all-time high and they're starting to trend down due to some buyer fatigue. Units for sale are finally starting to tick up a little bit, as I've shown you in a few other videos about what the money bought. I'll link to those up here. But in general, you've just got a really competitive landscape. And again, this is something that I've talked about in multiple videos. A lot of other YouTubers talk about this, but the new construction is so far behind of what we are actually needing that the existing families, what comes on the market, has an oversupply of buyers, right? Has more people going for it than there are existing homes, and that is driving the price up. And it's interesting, people are staying in their homes longer than they ever have, 11 years on average at this point. And that's fascinating because this is a conversation that I have anecdotally with a lot of people, is where am I gonna go? Unless I am intending on leaving the state or going to some less competitive area or going to a second home or a vacation home that I happen to have, or whatever the case is, people don't want to leave. Even though they could sell their existing home for an awful lot of money, they'd have to go then be a buyer in the market and participate in the madness that is these multiple offer situations and so forth. And as a result, people stay put because having a house in a place that you like, that suits your needs, has a tremendous amount of value right now. And people are recognizing that. So the turnover is less and people are just not leaving. Well, that being said, we did lose population for the first time in recorded history in the state of California, but we are at a huge all-time high relative to historic data of population. So there's still a lot of people here, right? Almost 40 million, in fact. And this is the slide that I'm gonna leave you with. This, I think, sums it up so perfectly well. So check this out. California population, about 40 million at this point in 2020, up from 27 million in 1986. Great. Number of realtors increased pretty substantially. But you look at the number of units, it's been really flat. And this has been something that's been fascinating about California is even though the population has increased, the resale units have stayed really flat. And this building permit thing at the very end is really the tail that is the second half of our equation. We've got the demand figured out, but now the supply. Why isn't the supply behind? Well, the building permits have gone down substantially. There's a number of factors to that. Obviously, labor costs, material costs, supply chain shortages, but also regulations around what can be approved, what can be built, for whom, at what speed, etc., etc. It is slowed down, bogged down, and surely some of that has to do with buyer preferences and taste and being able to be in the urban core or outside of it, and what financially and economically makes sense. So the net effect is simply we've grown a huge amount in population over most of our lifetimes. We have not built enough to sustain that, and our resale market is flat because people like to stay put. So what does come on the market ends up becoming really valuable and people are willing to fight for it, especially when debt is cheap. There's a lot of people who are looking to get that goal of first-time home ownership and they have cash to do so, right? So all of those things combined are really creating a very competitive environment, which is why our market has increased so dramatically here locally. And if you didn't catch it, I put up a video recently, just a couple weeks ago, about the Alameda County loan limit increase, which I'll link to right up here, that you definitely need to check out because that, I believe, will make even that $1 million to about $1.4 million price point even more competitive. And I won't get into that on this video, but go check that one out because that'll explain why. So there you have it. Thanks for tuning in. Since I know you got some value out of that, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel because I put out videos every single Friday to help you become more successful in your East Bay real estate search, sale, investment, whatever it is you're trying to do. And if you want to have a conversation about how to be more effective and what it means for your personal situation, my contact information is down in the description of the video. I'd be happy to field your questions, calls, concerns, what have you, and help you be as successful as possible in 2022 with whatever your goals are. So without any further ado, look forward to hearing from you. And until then, my name is Hans Struzyna with the Gunderman Group at Keller Williams Luxury International, and I'm signing off for now. See you on the next one.